Okay, welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to be making this Doctor Strange portal effect in Houdini. So drop down a circle node, dive in, set the divisions to 50, set the uniform scale to 2.5, drop down a convert line, and then once you've dropped down that convert line, move it to the side and drop down a ends node and close you unroll with new points. Drop down a transform node. On the rotate Z axis, type in -$F asterisk or times and 10. Drop down a carve node. Go to the 8th frame and set the first U to 1 and keyframe that. Then on frame 40, set it to 0 and Alt left click or right click, go to keyframes and set keyframe. Then shift click both these and Alt and drag so you duplicate them. Tick on second U on the second carve and go to the first frame and set it to 0 and Alt left click to keyframe. Then go to frame 161 and set the keyframe second U to 1, Alt left click, and on the first U revert to defaults and set it to 0. Then go to frame 175 and on the second U change it to 0 and keyframe that. And on frame 160 set the keyframe to 1 and keyframe that. And then go to frame 1 and on second U set the keyframe to 1. Then drop down a switch node and input both of these carve nodes. Make sure to revert to defaults on the first U. Set it to 0. Like literally delete channels. So on the switch node, once you've plugged them both in, both the carves, type it in on the input. $F is more than equals 160. So yeah, now it should open and close like the portal. Then drop down a poly wire node. Set the divisions to 10. And set the segments to 3. And the wire radius to 0.133. Drop down an attribute noise node. Change the attribute name to P. Set the amplitude to 0.45. And then duplicate and connect the node correctly like that. And the second attribute noise, set the amplitude to 2.21. And then tick on animate noise on both nodes. And then drop down a transform node. On rotate Z, type the code -$F asterisk 10. And then click on move centroid to origin. And then on the translate here, click on revert to defaults. You should have something like that. Drop down a scatter node and set the force total count to 150. Drop down a trail node and result type compute velocity, and tick on this display point trails so you can see you've got some velocity going. Drop down a point velocity node on the call noise tab. Tick on add call noise and set the scale to 5.5, the pulse duration to 1.3, and the swirl size to 1.7. Then drop down a popnet node. Make that visible and then dive into the popnet. On the pop source, set emission type to all points. On the attributes tab, initial velocity, make sure it's use inherited velocity, and set inherit velocity from 1 to 2. Drop down a pop axis force node and connect it to the second input of the pop solver. And on the pop axis force, on the speed tab, set the orbit speed to 20. And then tick on vexpressions, and type in this code. Then once you've typed that code in, drop down a pop wind node after the pop axis force. Set the air resistance to 0.7, the amplitude to 1.2, and the swirl size to 4, the pulse length to 4, and then the roughness to 0.25. Scroll down, tick on vexpressions, and write the code. Once you've typed in that code, duplicate it, wiggle that off and whack it right under there. Set the amplitude of this new node to 3, the swirl size to 2, the roughness to 0.5, and then if you click play, should look pretty cool. Yeah, we're getting somewhere, boys. Let's fucking go. Okay, before you get too excited, turn off display point trails, have a sip of some tea. On this pop source, on the birth tab, scroll down to life expectancy and set it to 0.5, and set the life variance to 1. Drop down a merge node just above the output, and then drop down a ground plane to the left and connect that into the merge node. Adjust that appropriately, and on the ground plane node, on the position, set it to -4 on the Y. Come out of this .NET view, and on this node here, go to simulation, substeps, and set it to 5. Then drop down a DOP import node, and we're going to drag this popnet onto the .NET network here, And on objects, we're gonna just copy the name of it. On dop import objects, paste that in. Scroll down and pick instantaneous point velocities. Drop down a trail node. Set the trail length to 3. Drop down an add node. Add a point on polygons, on boy group, on the add boy attribute, and then the attribute name, drop down a mountain node. Make sure you can see the effect here. And on element size, set it to like 1.15, but you can adjust this to how you want it. And the amplitude to 0.86. Drop down a carve node. And on the first, you set it to 0.52. Drop down a null node and name it as out. And it should look something like this. So now we need to just sort out the render view, so add texture, and I'll make a little render setup that you don't necessarily have to follow, but I'll put it in there for you anyway. So I'd say turn off the grid, click on no cam, new camera, lock the view. That's a pretty good view. Go to render view and just render the scene out just to see what we have before textures. Okay, as you can see, nothing too special just yet. But if you go onto the material palette, scroll down to glow material, which is here. Drag it to the right here, and then drag that onto this. And now it's got a bit of a glow. So we're gonna double click it here, and then I'm gonna set the color as enable emission to 2, glow ramp to 8.4, and then go back to OBJ view, which is the last thing you need to do. Just literally a line of code. Drop down our attribute wrangle node, type in at width equals 0.01, semicolon, command enter, and here you have the effect. And like, if you go back to the material palette, you can adjust the color how you want, so you can make it a bit brighter, which is all good. But yeah, and that's how you create this Doctor Strange portal effect in Houdini. Thank you for watching. Not fucking cunt. I should never thank you. You should be thanking me, bastard. Fucking bloody. Alright. Real quick, just for the render setup, drop down a grid. Don't connect it to the camera. On the translate Y, put it to -4. Uniform scale to like 100. Alt D to duplicate. Rotate 90 degrees on the X. Move it backwards on the Z axis. Go to like 20, -20, even -30. Just however, this is real quick. Go to the material palette, go to the very top. Once you reach principled shader, double click, don't double click it, drag it. This one is going to be the floor, and we're gonna let it have a bit of a glow off the render view. So if you go to render view, you have a look at it, make it a bit darker. You should have like a bit of a tint on the floor. I'd say make it even darker, to be honest. Make it look black pretty much. And then drop down another principled shader and drag this onto the back wall. But on the back wall one, turn down the roughness to maybe 4, like that, yeah. And then make the color a bit darker as well. And yeah, just experiment with it, see what you like. Play around with the glow settings as well. And yeah, thank you not for watching. Watch another video. Learn some more. Peace. Oh God, how do I end a video? Oh.